Colorado might have just picked up their biggest recruit in the Deion Sanders era. Plus, the #1 cornerback in the transfer portal has already decided on his next school. All that and more on today's episode of 4th and 10. 4 college football stories in just around 10 minutes. Now, let's go for it. We're still very early in the Deion Sanders tenure at Colorado, but today they picked up probably their biggest recruit since he got there. This morning, 5-star offensive tackle Jordan Seaton announced his commitment to Colorado. Now, this was pretty shocking news. He chose Colorado over Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Maryland, Oregon, and Florida. He took an official visit to Colorado last month, but the Buffaloes weren't listed in his 6 finalists. Based on what I was seeing on social media, a lot of people assumed that he was a guaranteed lock to end up at Ohio State. But he shocked the entire country this morning, and probably Deion Sanders, by announcing his commitment to Colorado. I mean, seriously, everyone thought he was ending up at a different program. I don't think Colorado was on anyone's radars.
If it's not Tennessee, who do you think it would be?
You know, a lot of people are going to say Ohio State, and I've kind of went back and forth on this thing. I would maybe kind of lean Oregon here, just slightly, if it's not Tennessee. They've kind of been in it a little bit longer. Ohio State made a kind of a late run here.
I would bet Tennessee. I think they're active in the NIL space with the guys they really want. We saw that last year with Nico, the quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think you're an offensive-minded head coach, and you want to protect your quarterback, obviously. So getting the #1 offensive tackle in the country, a guy that probably should come in and impact pretty early, I think it would make the most sense with Tennessee. And I don't think anybody's going to surprise me in this one.
I think you have to look at Ohio State, and for a number of reasons, and you alluded to some of them as well. They've got a really long-standing relationship with Seaton, probably the school that has the most consistent relationship dating back to, at least a year ago. And I think that if you're Ohio State, you did a good job of establishing that relationship and maybe just kind of laying in the weeds a little bit and letting some of the other schools battle it out.
Rocky Top, baby. I'm going to go with Tennessee Volunteers. That's just a program that has been in this all year long, all 2023. He went to Knoxville twice, if I'm not mistaken. He made his official visit there for the Georgia game. And you just hear good vibes coming out. Anything that comes out of Tennessee as it relates to Jordan Seaton, it just feels like nothing but good vibes.
Seaton is ranked as the number 15 overall recruit and the #1 overall offensive tackle in the class of 2024 by 24 Sports Composite rankings. He played at St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C. before transferring to the IMG Academy for his senior season. Seaton is the 10th commitment and the first top 100 prospect in Colorado's 2024 class. The main reason this is probably the biggest get for Colorado is because if you watched any Colorado game last season, you would have seen that they had arguably the worst offensive line in all of college football. I don't know how many sacks Shedeur Sanders took last season, but if he led the country, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. The dude was taking hit after hit after hit, and I'm not being dramatic, he literally had 1 or 2 seconds to really get the ball out because his offensive line couldn't keep defenders away at all. Now, I know adding 1 offensive lineman isn't going to do a whole lot, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for Colorado. And getting a recruit of this caliber, maybe dominoes are going to fall and Colorado's going to be able to pick up even more highly touted recruits and even add a couple of studs via the transfer portal. The offseason is still very young, but Colorado is already off to an amazing start. Speaking of getting off to a great start, Missouri just landed the #1 cornerback in the transfer portal. Former Clemson cornerback Toriano Pride announced his commitment to Missouri. Pride was a 4-star recruit in the 2022 class and had over 25 programs offer him a scholarship, but he ended up choosing Clemson. During his 2 seasons with the Tigers, he played in 26 games. He racked up 36 tackles and 9 pass breakups. 24/7 Sports college football analyst Carl Reed, who coached Pride through his junior season of high school, had this to say about him. They're getting a kid with NFL ability. He's going to be able to step in and start immediately, and they get a local hometown legend that's coming home. 24/7 Sports national recruiting analyst Cooper Patagna had this to say as well. He's a versatile athlete, but he checks all the boxes. He can do everything there from an athletic standpoint, but I love the fact that he can play on the boundary. You can play him in the nickel as well. This guy played really well against Florida Atlantic, Wake Forest, 2 games that he started earlier in the season at Clemson. I love what he can do. I love his physical ability. I think he has a lot of technical maturation still left in his game. So this is a guy that I think, if he finds the right fit, he can come in and make an immediate impact. Pride was viewed as the number 12 overall player in the 24/7 Sports transfer portal rankings, and like I mentioned, he was considered to be the number 1 cornerback of this entire group. Overall, this is quite the get for Missouri. They had a fantastic season this past year, and they were a legitimate threat to be in the SEC title game. If they're able to kill it in the transfer portal and in the recruiting game, this is a team that honestly could be fighting for a spot in the SEC title game next year. Before we get to the rest of today's video, I'd like to share with you guys how you can win money during the football season. I've partnered with Underdog Fantasy to bring you this amazing deal. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use promo code Harris, they'll match your first deposit up to $500. Yep, they're giving you up to $500 of free money. I've had a lot of success all season with college football and the NFL, and you can do the exact same with Underdog Fantasy. So make every college football bowl game and the remaining NFL games that much more exciting. Use promo code Harris for a 100% deposit match up to $500. You can also sign up using the link in my description as well. After losing head coach Mike Elko to Texas A&M, it looks like Duke is on the verge of hiring their next coach. According to multiple reports, they're targeting Penn State defensive coordinator Manny Diaz to be the program's next head coach. ESPN is saying that a decision could be made within the next 24 hours. Diaz is currently wrapping up his second season on Penn State's staff. Under Diaz, Penn State's defense has finished the regular season as one of the best in all of college football. They've limited opponents to only 223 yards per game. Penn State was also 3rd in scoring average, allowing only 11.4 points a game. During the 2022 season, Diaz's defense finished 16th in total defense among FBS teams. He was Miami's head coach from 2019 through 2021. During his time there, he won 21-15, before he was ultimately replaced by Mario Cristobal. Prior to that, Diaz was Miami's defensive coordinator from 2016 through 2018. Duke had one of the best defenses in all of college football this past season under Elko, so by bringing in a defensive-minded coach, I think Duke's defense is going to be just as good, if not better, in 2024. I know Manny Diaz's tenure in Miami kind of ended on a sour note, but I do think this is a very solid hire for Duke. They've been one of the up-and-coming teams in the ACC the last couple of years, but 2023 ended up being a disappointing year. Maybe by hiring Manny Diaz, they're going to be able to flip things around and be one of the top teams in the conference in 2024. We'll wrap up today's video with some pretty massive news surrounding one of the best rivalry games in all of college football. According to John Canzano, it looks like the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State is going to continue in the 2024 season and beyond. With Oregon set to leave for the Big Ten, it looked like the Civil War was going to be the end of an amazing rivalry, but now it looks like these two teams are going to be meeting for the foreseeable future. According to Canzano, the Ducks will travel to Corvallis to play the Beavers on September 14th next season, continuing the home-and-home series that started all the way back in 1894. Then in 2025, Oregon will host Oregon State at Autzen. According to the article, there was a lot that had to happen in order for this rivalry to be renewed. Texas Tech was originally scheduled to play at Oregon on September 7th next season. Instead, they're going to play at Washington State on that same date. Washington State was previously scheduled to play September 7th at San Diego State. Instead, that game is going to be moved to a later date in the season. Originally, Oregon was scheduled to play Boise State on September 14th. But the Broncos will now play in Eugene 1 week earlier on September 7th. Boise State was supposed to play at home against Oregon State on that September 7th date, but now that game is going to be made up later in the season. Again, it's very confusing. A lot of games had to get moved around, but the most important thing is Oregon and Oregon State are going to be playing next season. Overall, I'm a little bummed that this isn't going to be the last game of the season, as that's when all rivalry games are, but at this point, I think Oregon and Oregon State fans are more than okay with this game being in early September. When reading this article, I guess I must have missed this news as well, but Washington State and Washington agreed last month to extend the rivalry series as well through 2028. The Apple Cup will take place on September 14th, although it's going to be on a neutral site at Lumen Field in Seattle. The 2025 game will be played at Washington State and then will alternate between Pullman and Seattle moving forward. So although the entire Pac-12 is completely falling apart, I'm glad we're still getting some of these big rivalry games that mean so much to these fan bases. Well, that wraps it up for today's episode of 4th and 10. Do you think Deion Sanders in Colorado are going to pick up more 4- and 5-star recruits and kill it in the transfer portal this offseason? Also, let me know what your thoughts are on Manny Diaz going to Duke and what you think that means for the Blue Devils moving forward. If there are any videos you'd like to see this offseason, let me know in the comment section down below, and it could be featured in my next video. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all offseason, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.